So I'm standing here at the Green on Campus Drive student housing at Utah Valley University. I wanted to tell a little story, a little background on how this apartment complex on the edge of campus came to be. So many years ago, a development company wanted to build some on-campus housing right next to the library and to the student center for studies. I felt like that would not be a good idea because the area they were looking at was going to disrupt the neighborhood in Southwest Orem, and I was against it. So I explained to them that I would not vote for it and that I was not in favor of it. So that project got put on hold. During that time, another developer who lived over in an area over where we're standing right now heard about it and talked to his neighbors and said, maybe we ought to try to sell to a development company because we are a small circular neighborhood with just 29 homes. So the neighbors all agreed, and they went ahead and offered to a developer, Peg Development, the opportunity to buy their homes for a proper appraised price. And the neighborhood was the Palos Verdes neighborhood, and it was just a circular street off of 400 West. So anyway, the neighbors all sold their homes to Peg Development and for this future project, with the exception of one neighbor. One neighbor did not want to sell. This particular neighbor had a special needs child, loved the neighborhood, and did not want to move. So the process went on where we were trying to figure out, is this going to go in? Is this not going to go in? In the process, Peg Development mentioned to the people whose homes they had purchased that they could take anything out of the homes they wanted because the homes were going to be demolished. So the neighbors started taking windows, doors, the chandeliers, whatnot out of there. And as they did that, homeless people noticed what was happening and they started to move in. So with that being the case and the liability of the homeless people, Peg Development had no choice but to go ahead and demolish the homes. At this point, there was no zoning change, there was no approval by the city, there was no application to the city. They had just purchased the homes and they demolished them, with the exception of the one home. So in the process, we were talking to the people who own the one home and asked if they would be willing to sell. They said they would, but they wanted more for their home than what the others were getting. We understood that. I called that couple in and said, tell me what it is that would help you to decide, because I don't think you're going to want to be living there when an apartment complex is built around it. And they said, well, first of all, the developer has offended us, and second of all, we need more money. So I called in the developer, I called in Peg, and I said, look, I think if you will offer them $50,000 more for their house, and if in fact you will write a letter of apology and hand deliver it, knock on the door, hand deliver it, and read it to the owners and apologize to them, then something might occur. So Cam, the CEO of Peg Development, did that. He went over and met with them for 3 hours. He apologized. He offered them more money. He gave them a written apology, and they agreed to sell. They agreed to move. They had a special tree. He agreed to move their tree over to their new house, and we got the deal done. And the housing on Campus Drive, the Green on Campus Drive, was on its way. Except we had a referendum filed against this, where the neighbors did not want this to go in. Now, when we were negotiating with the developer on this, the neighbors had said they wanted about 20 different items to be redone in meetings that we had between the developer and the neighbors. So as an example, they wanted a stoplight on 400 West. They wanted the street going to 400 West widened. They wanted the apartments that bordered 400 West to only be 3 stories and then ramp up in height from there. So we had 20 different items that we agreed to. Now, they wanted to stop it. They wanted to keep it from going forward. Utah Valley University had already told Peg Development that if they were not allowed to do the project, they wanted to buy the land from them. And Utah Valley University is not under any restrictions by a local city. So they can build anything they want, any height they want, any any way it looks, the amount of apartments, whatever they want to do, they can do. And they actually came out and said they were going to put more apartments in, they were going to design it differently. And so when this referendum went through, I wrote a letter to the residents and said, listen, you don't realize that there are unintended consequences if you go through with the referendum. Because first of all, you will have more apartments, you'll have a different design. The 20 items that the city has agreed to and the developer has agreed to will not happen, and you would be much better off staying the way you are. So they agreed, the referendum did not go anywhere, and the apartments have been built. Now the nice thing about the apartments is that they're so close to Campus Drive, and there's a tunnel that goes under Campus Drive right into the campus, that the residents, the students, just park their cars. They don't go here, there, and everywhere. So the amount of people that would be traveling back and forth to parking lots is not occurring. So the cars are parked except for maybe a date Friday night or going for groceries on Saturday. So traffic levels are actually down. Safety is up. The roads have been widened. The apartments look beautiful. And the other thing is, with apartments this close to campus, your rate of graduation is higher for those people living there. Your rate of GPA is higher. Your success rate for jobs is higher. Everything is higher. Matt Holland, before he left, wanted to get an apartment complex on Campus Drive or right next to campus, and this has been able to happen, and the city has worked well with the developer and with the residents, and I think everybody's happy. Thank you.